Hi, Miguel. So this is the RSMB export image filter thing that you wanted to address. Um, I'll get on with it. I'll show you first how it's done right now. There are limitations, and I think it doesn't solve the problem uh, regarding render paths. But I want to show you how it's done and now, and I'll show you how it's going to be implemented later on, very soon. In fact, it's quite easy. I think it's quite easy to implement because it's still the implementation will be part of the whole Janus system anyway. So this is how it's done. The idea is to load up an instance of RSMB export. Once you load that up, it's a matter of inputting something. In this case right now, since this is the let's put it this way, the old method, it's since we haven't modified, I haven't modified Janus yet. You can put anything here, like for example, RSMB motion, for example. Okay, or let's say a padding, and then say OK. Now, once that happens, you double click in. These are all your settings. Now, it's in a sense it's already stored in the memory of Lightwave. All we need to do is to extract that and then to reapply that on a per pass basis. Now, again, this applies to any, in fact, any filter handler. You can actually save pixel filter handlers in the same method. It stores the settings inside Lightwave, and then you can use Janus to extract it and then to apply it on a per pass basis. Again, you can use it for volumetrics. You can use that for environments. You can even use object plugins like motion handlers or displacement maps. Yes, you can even use that. So you can do lots of stuff with that. It's just a matter of extracting that information and then applying on a per pass basis. Now we're doing RSMB export image filter, so we'll extract that information from the scene file and then apply it on a per pass basis. It's quite simple. All we have to do is, now that this thing is there, we go over to items, save scene plugin data blocks. Object plugin data blocks refer to plugin specific plugins. Object specific plugins, and scene plugins, obviously it's related to the scene, such as the image filter. When you select that, you'll see that there's a bunch of different things. You have scene plugin handlers here, you have master handler, you have Janus, you can see, and then down here you'll see the image filter handler RSMB export. The reason why it's listed this way is because sometimes you have multiple instances of different plugins, and sometimes you don't know which one is which. That's why you have to select one, and then you have to view the data blocks. Once you view that, you'll see the settings here. Now, Janus was designed because it wants to be open to different third-party plugins. That's the reason why it was formulated this way, because it can't. Janus has no way of interpreting what these settings mean unless it was provided beforehand. But at this point, the user must sort of take into his burden or her burden also to know what these things mean. But as the format here is rather simple. RSMB motion is what we just typed. So we know that this is basically the instance of the plugin that we want. And since we only have one instance anyway, we're sure that this is it. So it's RSMB test. I'll put it as that. So I'm gonna say OK. Right? And then once that's saved, you can see on the event log that the save plugin data blocks was completed, and it's under this path. It's a by the way, this is a project centric feature, so it's under the you'll find it under your content directory. So it's OK. Press OK there, and then under the image filter, you should see RSMB test, which is basically the setting. So instead of simply saying image filter enable or disable, you can actually now have a option to apply a particular preset to that. I'll take the box off. Click on this one and select RSMB test. Click on plus the minus key to append that data right over there. Now, before we go on, before we even break this thing out, you have to be aware, and you have to deactivate or remove the thing. Right now, I'll remove it. You can also deactivate it. But what's happening here is that the image filter will be applied. The new data will be applied or actually added onto the scene, to the breakout scene, but the old one would still be there. So you have to take care and to deactivate it. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to deactivate it, or I'll just remove it altogether, and then I'm going to break out the scene. Now the scene has been broken out. I will go to the render pass over here, and I will navigate to breakout scene. Okay, it's right over here, and double click on this and look for RSMB. So RSMB, and it's right here. As you can see, RSMB motion was saved and it was applied. Okay. Of course, there's a little problem here, but actually, when you load this up, it's cool. There's no problem whatsoever. So this is how it's applied basically, and when you load up the scene file, it'll be there. Now, how it's going to be implemented in the future, you see the problem now, it's static. As you can see, you can save settings, but you can't dynamically change them on a per pass basis. So what will happen here is that if you wanted to do it, right now, you would have to keep on saving lots of these things, going to different paths and then applying it on a per pass basis, which is very, very tedious. So what we want to do is a generic, or a very one preset that will contain variables that can refer to the actual render pass. So in the future, in the very near future, what I'm going to do is this. What we can do is load up that instance again, and we'll use Janus syntax in the file name so that we can change it when it's being written back into the scene, into the breakout pass by Janus. So if we, for example, we type in file name, let's say Janus image there, which is related to the image directory of that pass, and we'll say backslash, and then we'll say JN target group, and then let's say JN pass name. So Janus will, before it actually writes it out to the breakout scene, it will read this file name, and then it will start replacing all the needed ones. Now you can, this is all right now, these are all constant variables, and I'll plan to put user variables as well. So any kind of user variable will be, will be there. So let's say my variable or something like that, and then then it'll be valid. But of course, I think it will still, obviously, because it's still going to be written in, but eventually that string will still be evaluated by the plugin. So you still need to follow the notes here. So non-absolute pass will be relative from content directory. You have to use the padding or the pound sign, or whatever we call the hash key, the hash sign, to indicate where the 4-digit frame should be included. So we can, so you'd still need to go like this, or dot, or something, and then you still need to put in your pound signs. And yep. So the reason why I will implement it this way is that it's difficult to always foresee what other future plugins, image filters, or whatever that will come in, and Janus would want to support that. But if I lock myself into a front end, the problem is having to maintain the front end and having to sort out bugs on the front end, the specific one. So that's more work for one single support for a image filter. In this case, the image filter is real smart. Motion blur is rather simple and straightforward. It's not like EXR Trader it has a lot more. EXR Trader has a lot more thing going inside. So this one is a bit more simple, have a few settings, and I think in this case, implementing real-time replacement for strings using Janus constant variables and user variables is a more holistic and flexible workaround. Although you do have to type in stuff, but I think you will have to type in this thing only once for a specific folder structure. So of course, I could include more constant variables in the future in order to make it more more flexible. But you also have user variables, so be aware of that. So yep, and that's it. That's how it's going to be implemented in the future. Okay. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for listening.